Look forward to seeing you next time on The Chase Australia.
On 7 News tonight, the road out of virus lockdown, getting back to work. First signs of a heartbeat as some shops reopen and staff begin returning to their jobs.
The Gold Coast plea for help. Get the economy moving now or the city spirals into ruin.
The Ruby Princess inquiry, a health official breaks down, admitting her team failed.
Exclusive. Hannah Clark's parents speak with Kay McGrath, their special message in tough times.
The plan to slash interstate airfares to $19, luring Australians to start travelling again.
Supermarkets dropping meat prices indefinitely, plus wholesalers with prices not seen for years.
And rallying on the Royal Brisbane rooftop, Ash Barty and Pat Rafter bring some cheer to medical staff.
Live from Brisbane, 7 News with Sharyn, Ghidella and Max Futcher.
Good evening. The push is on for a return to work across the country, but it won't be instant and it won't be the same as it was.
Here in Queensland, borders will remain closed indefinitely. The next time you take a holiday, it's almost certain to be within the Sunshine State.
For 6 weeks, the state's borders have been closed. Any chance they're about to reopen, also shut down.
I can't see that happening anytime soon.
As some restrictions ease, hopes increase, interstate travel could be relaxed. But the Premier believes, when possible again, holidaying in your home state will be the only option.
First and foremost is it might be Queensland supporting Queenslanders.
It would be a start for local operators like Cairns reef tour company Quicksilver, desperate for any business.
I'm hoping everyone's well and truly ready to have a holiday, and if so, they come and visit us.
Timing for local travel is still to be worked out in conjunction with National Cabinet. The same situation for cafes, restaurants and bars, waiting for news on when and how doors can open.
We are still getting the occasional case, and if we don't manage that and we have more people out and about, it could be a risk. 5
new cases have been recorded, 3 of them acquired interstate.
We now have 57 active cases here in Queensland. 980 people have now recovered.
The number of tests being conducted continues to fall. That's not necessarily bad news. The Chief Health Officer suggests the rates of all respiratory illness in the community are low, but still, it's crucial people come forward.
If you've got any symptoms at all, please, this is really, really important. Just don't stay at home, come forward and get tested.
To keep infections low and hopes of a return to normal life high. When we do get to that point where life has returned to something a bit more normal, when businesses like bars, cafes and restaurants can reopen, we shouldn't expect them to look like they did pre-COVID-19. Today, the Premier said social distancing is going to be here for a while. So things like maximum business occupancy, gaps between patrons and contactless payments are something we will have to get used to, and those regulations will be with us until a vaccine is developed, distributed and takes effect.
Thanks, Joel. We're on the road out of virus lockdown, and now the Prime Minister wants Australians to get back to work. Scott Morrison warns for every week restrictions continue, Australia loses $4 billion as he maps out a plan to restart the economy.
The crippling cost of the coronavirus lockdown.
$4 billion that we lose in economic activity for every additional week.
The economy hemorrhaging $50 billion in the June quarter.
But when you look at the jobs...
A picture of despair, 1 million jobs lost, with the curve of infection flattened, setting a new challenge.
We now need to get 1 million Australians back to work.
Encouraging businesses to prepare COVID-safe workplaces with improved hygiene, protective equipment, distancing and plans to deal with possible outbreaks, allowing workers to return over coming weeks and put their children back in school.
Kids going back to school lifts productivity, helps people get back to work and helps the economy get back on its feet.
Treasury estimating the partial shutdown of schools has cost 300,000 jobs.
If you care about getting people back to work, you need to care about preventing job losses in the first place.
National Cabinet will finalise a plan on Friday for the easing of restrictions, determining what will happen in each stage. The when will be left up to the premiers in their own states when they believe the economic benefits outweigh the health risks. But accepting there will be further outbreaks.
But those cases can be managed, and those cases can be contained in a strong health system.
New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern turning the National Cabinet international, joining the discussion on opening borders to create a trans-Tasman travel bubble.
We'll be looking for ways to do it safely. That will be top of mind.
But it's unlikely to happen for some weeks yet. Mark Riley, 7 News.
And later in the bulletin, the heartbeat returned to the city today. It was a slow beat, but we were there as many workers returned to their jobs. Don't miss that story soon.
First, we had to prove we could flatten the curve. Now, Gold Coast politicians want to take a big step further on the road to recovery. They're pushing to reopen the economy, or they warn the city will spiral into financial ruin.
From the city famous for fun, a serious warning from businesses.
90% down. It's very quiet.
Empty and waiting.
The tourism and hospitality industry are crying out for a bit of certainty.
It's very concerning for local businesses.
The Boardwalk Tavern at Hope Island called last drink 6 weeks ago.
Shutting down was, one of the most harrowing things I think you could ever probably have to go through for your business.
Some have not survived. Vacant retail space has surged in Southport, Surface and Burleigh. The LNP says now is the time to make a time for bars, restaurants, cafes, the economy to reopen.
How many patrons they can have in. What we've seen in other countries is outdoor areas.
What I'm calling for is for a light at the end of the tunnel.
The Gold Coast recorded the state's first case on January 30. Since then, 191 others have tested positive, but now just 15 cases remain active.
It's been an issue that was to do with lives. Now it's to do with livelihoods.
I don't see a problem with the restaurant industry being open while being mindful of social distancing.
But if scenes like these are anything to go by, that could prove to be an uphill battle.
And if the message is not heard, I'll put the barrier right around the Burleigh Hills.
On the Gold Coast, Amanda Abate, 7 News.
A New South Wales health official has wiped away tears while giving evidence about her team's handling of the Ruby Princess disaster. The Special Commission heard the ship was not held to account because it was operated by a, quote, massive cruise company.
After 21 deaths and nearly 1,000 COVID-19 infections, Ruby Princess Commissioner Brett Walker had a question.
Why I should not draw the conclusion that there has been a reprehensible shortcoming in New South Wales Health in that regard.
Commissioner, all I can say is that I'm very sorry it turned out the way it did. It was not our intention. Myself and my colleagues at the Public Health Unit were working very hard on this. We did what we could. And if we could do it again, it would be very different.
It was Kellyanne Ressler's job to liaise directly with the ship. She has no medical qualifications.
While the ship is out at sea, I have no jurisdiction over what they do. It's difficult for me in my role to insist on the practices of massive cruise ship companies myself.
This image you have just given us of little old New South Wales and great big cruise companies, which, if I may say so, sounds both unrealistic and offensive.
While much of today has been focusing on revealing the inadequacies of governments, Carnival Australia did not escape attention. 7 News can reveal the ship's company was raided by officers from the Department of Agriculture this morning. They told us there is now a federal investigation underway probing an incomplete maritime arrival reporting system form. Robert Ovadia, 7 News.
A coronavirus outbreak at a Victorian meat processing plant has increased by 11. 45 people have now contracted the virus at the Cedar Meats facility in Melbourne. The state's chief health officer is assuring the public meat from the factory is safe. Meanwhile, a 16th aged care resident has died from COVID-19 at Sydney's Newmarch House. Qantas has flagged the possibility of super cheap fares when the lockdown is relaxed. The airline also backing down on strict conditions which limited the use of credit vouchers for grounded passengers. Chief Executive Alan Joyce says he's eager to get back in the air.
In Australia's empty skies, a show of support for Virgin from its pilots, just as the Qantas boss put a positive spin on the flying kangaroo.
There is definitely, as we say, light at the end of the tunnel. And if these current conditions did last, i.e. no flying domestically and internationally until the end of 2021, we have the cash to survive till then.
Maybe, but Qantas is burning through that cash at $40 million a week. Today cancelling domestic flights until the end of June. International services scrapped until at least a month later, prolonging the stand down of 25,000 staff.
The real question here is why is the government sitting passively while Alan Joyce goes and puts Qantas in more debt?
Mortgages on 3 Qantas planes have raised over $500 million. The pandemic will leave scars.
Very clearly, the Qantas of 2021 and 2022 will not be the Qantas of 19.
The Qantas boss says it may take years for many international flights to recover, making its domestic business vital. And that means attracting passengers back into terminals and onto planes. But with less overseas travel.
As far as the Australian domestic market is concerned, yes, there's a really upbeat potential for 2021.
And maybe bargain flights.
So, for example, on Melbourne-Sydney, you could see Jetstar have had $39 airfares, you could see $19 airfares.
Anything to get airlines moving again.
Well, I would hope so, because you can't sit at home forever, can you?
Chris Marr, 7 News.
World leaders, including Scott Morrison, have joined forces in a Europe-led fundraising blitz, pledging billions of dollars towards a COVID-19 vaccine. But the challenge for some superpowers could be fighting the pandemic without fighting each other.
Despite its internal divisions, the European Union brought the world together. Leaders from more than 40 countries pledging $12.5 billion to develop tests, treatments and a vaccine. Canada, France, Turkey, Japan and Australia.
Now we go to Down Under.
Joining the virtual summit.
Today, Australia is pledging 352 million Australian dollars towards this global effort.
Not quite global. Russia and the United States didn't participate.
The race to discover the vaccine to defeat this virus is not a competition between countries, but the most urgent shared endeavour of our lifetimes. It's humanity against the virus.
Almost a dozen human trials are now underway, including 2 here in the UK. Oxford scientists believe they'll know by June if theirs works, but even with an effective vaccine, creating enough global doses is the challenge. In the meantime, across Europe, the delicate balancing act continues. Traffic returning, shops opening, freedoms and finally, family. Grandparents reunited with their 5-year-old granddaughter after 2 long months apart. In London, Sarah Greenhalgh, 7 News.
Nearly 250,000 students will return to school next week, but it will be vastly different to how they left. There are concerns children and parents may struggle to adapt to the changes.
Schools coming back, but not as we know it.
We want to make sure that we do everything we can so that transition is really smooth for them.
Teachers are now wary of the adjustment when Queensland's youngest and oldest students return to the classrooms on Monday.
We just really want them to get on with their learning here and get back into those school routines and classroom routines as quickly as possible.
Those routines will be different to maintain social distancing. Changes too for mums and dads.
Parents will not be able to go into the school grounds. It'll be at the gate.
We've put additional staff members on duty in that area so that we can make sure that our younger students can be escorted to their classrooms.
But school won't be the same.
Large gatherings like assemblies or excursions will be a thing of the past, and students will have to be heavily monitored at all times to make sure social distancing is still practiced.
These are very practical issues and they're going to have an impact on schools for some time to come.
Staff now working around the clock, preparing for face-to-face lessons while juggling online lessons for the remaining students who return on May 25th.
It's a huge ask and we're not entirely sure that it's achievable.
And not the only concern, not all students will have taken to online schooling.
Australian students are falling behind in education.
Which is why Free School Australia is offering a range of online tutoring lessons for students across the country who are now facing even more change. Brittany Lane, 7 News.
It was an ace idea. Two of the biggest names in Queensland sport showing their appreciation to hospital staff caring for COVID-19 patients. Ash Barty and Pat Raft are surprising the medicos at the Royal Brisbane Women's Hospital.
Queensland's real-life heroes meeting Queensland's sporting heroes. Trish Hurst and Michelle Doige going one-on-one with world number ones on Brisbane's most unique tennis court.
A lot of unsung heroes that go unnoticed at the moment, who are doing a lot of work to keep us safe, to keep the community safe and to keep things tracking in the right direction.
The staff here work like slaves and are deeply devoted to doing what they're doing. And every now and then it is so good to be able to just spend 5 minutes and to look at the bright side of life and to get some recognition.
Ash's idea, her sister and mum both work in the medical field.
Oh, it was incredible. I think Trish and Michelle lied to us a little bit when they said they hadn't played before, but it was a lot of fun.
Intimidating. There weren't fences. And every now and then when the ball went wide, you didn't really want to go for it.
But not as intimidating as inside. The state's largest hospital. Nowhere's treated more COVID cases in Queensland.
Mainly is getting to see the guys and girls behind there wearing what they wear and how intense that is for them being in that environment. It's pretty tricky. And, you know, as I said before, I'll say it again, we can't thank these guys enough for what they're doing.
Ben Davis, 7 News.
Let's check on the weather now, and tiny showers are building just off the coast.
Yeah, Sharyn, plenty of wet weather out to sea, but it is struggling to push in over land so far, apart from the odd drop or two over the southern border ranges. Checking today's temperatures, another cool morning, then most spots nudged just above the May average. 10 up to 26 degrees for Archerfield, make that 6 to 26 in Ipswich. Will these showers bring us some rain? I'll be back soon with the forecast.
Thanks, Tony. A security guard's been shot dead in the US while trying to enforce safety measures. Next, an argument over a face mask led to murder.
The unheard Beatles song set to go under the hammer for charity.
See the flock of sheep that took over a town.
And before weather, the cuts of meat with prices not seen in decades.
Hannah Clark's parents speak with Kay McGrath.
We were in shock for quite a while, I think.
Their special message in these tough times on 7 News, coming up.
7 News, brought to you by Industry Superfunds.
I suddenly realized we're all in this together.
That feels especially true, given what's going on. It is good to know that our super will help us and our economy bounce back. And if you're with one of these, your super is invested in things that create jobs and keep Aussie businesses strong, delivering good long-term returns that benefit all of us. After all,
we're all in this together.
It's one of life's biggest decisions.
This home means a lot to us. It's like our first home. This is where we want to start a family. Oh my God, I'm actually going to get upset about my
But what if it turned out to be your biggest mistake?
This decision to buy this house was a bit of a snap decision on my part.
Can they transform this dump into their forever home?
Oh my God, stop it.
House Rules, tonight 7:30 on 7.
Dad!
Oh, sorry. It's funny.
Dad!
Party purpose. Shh.
Bring your family together. Introducing Optus Family Plan with 4 SIMs and 250 gigs of data to share.
The game that makes the most millionaires is giving you 20 million more reasons to get super excited this Saturday. Gold Lotto's $20 million Super Draw Saturday. Play now in-store at thelot.com or the Lot app.
For over 40 years, Canning Vale has invested in quality and design, making exclusive luxury homewares attainable. And now you can enjoy premium quality at up to 75% off. With Canning Vale's Luxury for Less sale, make home a sanctuary of warmth and style with generous discounts on the distinctive Canning Vale range, all with 100-day home trial and free returns. Shop online now using code FREE for fast free shipping to your door, up to 75% off for a limited time. CanningVale.com.
If you're a small business, you've probably got a lot of questions right now, which is why you should speak to a professional accountant who's trained in planning and cash flow management strategies. For further support, contact a professional accountant today.
The Australian Government is supporting individuals and households during the coronavirus crisis. We've introduced the $550 coronavirus supplement, doubling income support for many. It means those on the job seeker payment could receive up to $1,100 a fortnight. We're also providing two $750 payments to veterans, pensioners and other households receiving income support. These automatic payments will support up to 5 million Australian households. To find out more, visit australia.gov.au. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Tasty, affordable and delicious. What's for dinner in the next break with Coles?
Coles is scrapping its community shopping hour for elderly and disabled customers as panic buying continues to subside. Some Queensland stores will now open at 6 a.m. for all shoppers.
Every customer will be able to come in the door when the store's open rather than having it dedicated to community hour. But the important thing is that those customers who were doing community hour, they're welcome at any time.
Coles hopes the new hours will help ease pressure on families juggling homeschooling and working from home.
In Australia, we've had spitting and assaults, but in the US, a store security guard has been shot dead for telling a shopper to wear a face mask. It's the latest, deadliest act of violence in a state where lockdown frustration is boiling over.
Days after protesters stormed the state's capital. Murder in Michigan.
She had gone to the store. She had a daughter with her. The daughter did not have a mask.
A security guard shot dead for refusing a customer entry without a mask.
In this case, there's just no excuse for somebody to take this kind of an action over this kind of an issue. I can't fathom one.
I'm just suffocating. I feel like a knife is in my chest.
A neighbouring suburb, another police investigation after a man wiped his nose on a store assistant's shirt when she asked him to wear a mask. New government modelling obtained by the New York Times projects America's daily death toll will reach 3,000 come June, hitting almost 135,000 deaths by early August. This as businesses across the country reopen. From today, restaurants in Nebraska and Florida, bars in Montana, offices in Colorado. By the end of the week, California will be partially reopened too. The governor giving retailers the green light to offer curbside pickup, but conceding this next phase could come at a cost.
We recognise as we begin to modify, behaviour is modified and possible community spread may occur.
In Los Angeles, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
The two remaining Beatles are auctioning off an unreleased track to raise money for coronavirus charities. Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr wrote Angel in Disguise in 1992. The only known copy exists on cassette. The unheard demo is expected to fetch up to $40,000 when it goes under the hammer.
A flock of sheep has taken advantage of the empty streets during lockdown in Turkey. Hundreds can be seen trotting along the deserted road, turning the city into a farm to the delight of onlookers cooped up at home. Led by a shepherd, the animals appear to enjoy their stroll, some stopping for a snack of roadside grass along the way.
A murder that shocked the nation. Hannah Clark and her children killed in Camp Hill. Next, her family's important message to Queensland.
Plus, Loyal Wingman, the first look at Australia's new military drone designed and built right here.
We're inside the southeast's busiest hospitals, now empty as admission numbers plunge.
And after sport, meet one very inspiring Queenslander, the special milestone for a Darling Downs girl with a fighting spirit.
Who is that?
I don't know.
It's Tane, Ari's brother. I don't think they like each other too much.
He's a bit of a troublemaker.
He's about to arrive. Some will love it, some won't.
I told you to stay away. Yeah, but you're not calling the shots now, are you?
It's all that heavy weight.
Who's your new friend?
He's no friend. I didn't come here to make trouble. I came here to make sure my family was okay.
Tane acts like he's a good guy, but he's not.
Walk away, Tane. I ain't going anywhere.
He's got the whole bay talking.
Maybe I'll see you around, yeah?
Yeah, maybe. Home and Away, weeknights on 7.
Hi guys, Michael Weldon here with another What's for Dinner, and today we've got a special one. I've got my mate Ryan here. Now Ryan and I have been doing some cooking videos for the Stephanie Alexander Kitchen Garden Foundation to give you a bit of inspo for some dishes you can cook at home with kids, haven't we? Yeah, but tonight we're going to make pizza. Now this recipe is the perfect recipe for the kids to get in the kitchen and cook this week for Mother's Day. To make our dough, first of all, we've got 300 grams of bread flour. Now Ryan, we're going to go into there, flour. You grab that fork. We're going to then add some yeast into our warm water. Delicately whisk it together. I'm going to add a quick pinch of salt, a drizzle of olive oil. That's Ryan's mixing dance, which I love. Then we leave that for 2 minutes, just to let it bloom. I'm going to quickly dice up an onion, because we're going to make a quick tomato sauce. And I'm literally going to use 4 ingredients. Onion, tomato, olive oil and salt. So we want to chop our onion nice and fine. Do you want to chuck some olive oil in there? Once our oil is hot, we're going to go in with our onion. You want to slowly stir that. And we'll just add a little pinch of salt to that as well to help those soften. We just added some passata or some tinned tomatoes. Our yeast is activated. Now, do you want to do your mix again? This time we're going to mix the flour and the yeast together. That's it. So we're just going to bring it together until it forms a little bowl. We're going to put that to one side for about 20 minutes. Look at that dough. It's started to double in size and puff up. Then we give that a knead just to bring it all together. So we're going to put our dough into a tray. We're going to wrap it with cling wrap and let that prove for about 2 to 3 hours. I made some ahead of time. Now it's time to make our pizza. Start at one end and just push around the outside, and then we transfer our pizza dough to the paddle. What's next? Sauce. Can you put that in the middle for me? 1 spoon right in the middle. Now this is the best thing about pizza, right? You should choose your own adventure. I'm just going to go margarita with parmesan and mozzarella. I like basil, so I'm going to put all the green stuff on mine. Let's go over the oven. Okay, this, you step down. Wow! All right, Ryan, look at that. Pizza's ready. How does that smell? Pizza. And there we have it. That is our recipe for margarita pizza. We made our own dough. For this recipe, check out coles.com.au. And if you want to get in the kitchen and do some cooking with your kids, check out the Stephanie Alexander Kitchen Garden Foundation website. Happy eating, guys.
It's almost 3 months since the horrific murder of Hannah Clark and her 3 young children shocked the country. Hannah's parents, Lloyd and Sue Clark, are taking life one day at a time. During DV Prevention Month, they're hoping to regain momentum in the war against family violence. This special report from Kay McGrath.
Each morning, Sue and Lloyd Clark head to their sanctuary in the local bush.
Head up, that's it.
Some days we struggle. Some days we're okay.
Almost 3 months ago, the nation was stunned when Hannah, Aaliyah, Leanna and Trey were ambushed and set alight by Hannah's estranged husband.
I'm still holding a lot of anger, which I've got to try and release.
The tears are always just there, you know.
We thought it'd be getting easier, but I think it's actually getting harder as time goes on. And especially with the isolation too, not being able to, to have people just pop in and say hello, you know, people say,
and get a hug. Yeah. We're huggers, we love hugs, and can't do that.
The pandemic lockdown has given them time, though, to reflect.
I think the realisation now that they're not coming home.
We were in shock for quite a while, I think, and now we're just realising they're not coming back.
The fact that Hannah and the children were murdered in this middle-class suburban street really hit home with people. But the reality is at least 1 woman a week is murdered by a current or former partner, and advocates want that appalling statistic responded to in the same way as coronavirus.
I was surprised. I was pleased people were angry, and hope that will make a change for legislation and change for things.
The Clarks now understand a lot more about domestic violence.
People don't realise, Hannah didn't realise for years that it was domestic violence.
No.
You know, because he never heard it. Well, never hit her, he harmed her mentally, but she always said to me, but he never hit me, Mum. The control, I think, is the main thing, and how it's quite subtle.
You know, it affects any age, any postcode.
Doesn't discriminate, does it?
It doesn't discriminate at all.
Lloyd and Sue want to share their learnings through a foundation they hope will complement work already being done. And they want to thank Queenslanders for their love, compassion and support.
We feel loved, we feel people loved Hannah, and it's touching.
And remain forever grateful to frontline workers.
They're all absolutely marvellous.
It's good to see goodness come out of such a horrific thing.
There's a lot of good people out there. There's some monsters, but I think there's a lot more nicer, genuine people out there than the monsters.
None more genuine than this inspiring couple. Kay McGrath, 7 News.
And 140 delegates will tomorrow take part in a virtual summit in Brisbane to find better and faster ways to respond to domestic violence during COVID-19. Service providers say the lockdown has left many victims feeling even more vulnerable and isolated. Police predict a 15% rise in domestic violence this financial year. They say cabin fever will lead to violence in homes where it didn't exist before. If you or someone you know needs help, call DV Connect on 1800 811 811.
A surprise fireworks display lit up the sky on the Gold Coast last night as a special thanks to our healthcare workers. The show was organised and paid for by local traders.
They are critical to us getting back to business in the coming months.
The top floor of the Q1 was also lit up in green as a sign of gratitude to those on the front line. Hospital wards, theatres and ICU units across the state remain empty in case of an influx of COVID-19 patients. Reintroducing non-urgent patients for surgery is the next step, but health experts warn refilling hospitals cannot be rushed.
Empty space after empty space at our state's biggest hospitals. This is the RBWH at the Mater and Children's Hospital, also the Prince Charles. Last year, most hospital parking was at or over capacity. Now there's no need to fight for a spot, an indicator of patient numbers inside.
We've got very decreased activity in those hospitals because we've been preparing for the COVID-19 response.
Elective surgery was postponed to make room.
We cut out most of the Category 2 and even some of the Category 1.
Our emergency departments were on track for a busy autumn. Admissions in March were up 11,000 on last year. But Queensland Health is expecting a big drop in April due to COVID-19. And just 9 Queenslanders are now in hospital with the virus. Medical staff have used the calm to upskill for a coronavirus storm. Thankfully, it hasn't hit. The focus now is refilling those empty beds to deal with an elective surgery backlog. Our health experts say the reintroduction of non-urgent surgeries has to be slow and measured. Keeping wards spare for a potential surge in COVID-19 cases is critical.
Doing the patients who will take the least amount of resources initially so that at any time we can peel back if we see coronavirus surging.
And not undo our hard work. Tristan Boreas, 7 News.
A striking new military aircraft has been unveiled today, the first to be designed and built in Australia in more than 50 years. Called the Loyal Wingman, the unmanned aircraft cost $40 million to build. It has a range of more than 3,700 kilometres and will start trials soon. For tonight's In Your Suburb, we focus on Mount Gravatt, where children's artwork is bringing neighbours together. While in Inala, there's no shortage of community groups pitching in to help those in need.
A trip up the hill is a daily ritual for many locals in Mount Gravatt, an important chance for a catch-up outdoors.
I'm retired and I live by myself, and
This is just, it's almost like family.
The Lovewell project still serving, even converting their cafe into a local farmers market.
We've had people bring in avocados from their trees at home and limes and stuff like that. So it's a real community feel.
That community feel on display at the Grenfell Street Art Gallery. With lots of time at home, the Adleys have been sharing their art and messages of support.
Dads with kids on push bikes, and they say it's the highlight of their walk, getting to, do the lap and come and pick up a rock and see what new painting's been put up.
It's been cool because we've met a lot of people that we didn't even know lived in this neighbourhood until they walked past and said hey.
Meanwhile, Hillsong City Care have been busy ensuring people in the community don't go without.
We've seen demand increase around 200 to 300% during this time.
Food at the Inala Plaza, essential for a multicultural community that looks out for each other. Inala has more than 50 church and community groups which have all increased their services in recent weeks to support locals doing it tough. Reverend Russell today opening his op shop for the first time in weeks.
It just lifts people's spirits up to see things coming back to a little bit more normal to what they were before. And so that's exciting.
Proceeds from the store providing funds for essential supplies when people need it most. Elliot Chipper, 7 News.
Breathing life back into the Brisbane city, where with workers as they return to their jobs in the CBD.
Shark Debate, the new documentary questioning whether drumlines do more harm than good.
And the very nosy echidna caught breaking into a Sunshine Coast home.
Very occasionally, someone comes onto the stage, you think they are born to be a superstar.
Her voice will have the entire audience on their feet.
This is what the world has been waiting for.
Brand new Britain's Got Talent, Wednesday 7:30 on 7.
When life gives you, how did that get under their anus? Godfrey's gives you cleanliness. Award-winning Wurtime stick vacuum, $7.99. Hoover steam mop, $2.79. Godfrey's cleanliness.
A lot of us are spending more time at home. Using a lot more electricity and internet. Unfortunately, iSelect can't help with your naked partner walking past your big presentation. But we could help shrink those household bills. Now's the time to compare, select and save with iSelect on 13 19 20.
These home loan applications are impossible.
We should try St George. It's an online application.
Oh, and helps just to tap away.
It's a St George thing.
Apply for your loan without leaving home. Search St George Home Loans.
For making sense of a changing world. For understanding what's next. For the edge you need. The Australian. For the informed Australian.
Sorry.
Just wait.
It's funny.
Dad!
Party purpose.
Bring your family together. Introducing Optus Family Plan with 4 SIMs and 250 gigs of data to share.
Ready for any challenge. Battery power, made by Stihl. Only from your local Stihl dealer.
If you're in business in Australia, right now you're facing one of your toughest challenges. Business Australia can help you manage your responsibilities to your employees and assist with strategies to maintain and sustain your business. For free advice and support, visit businessaustralia.com.
To finance, and the Australian share market has recorded a second day of solid gains, up 1.6% after the RBA held interest rates at a record low level. The ASX 200 added 87 points. Energy stocks have lifted as oil prices soar. BHP is up 2%. The Australian dollar remains strong, buying 64 US cents and 59 euro cents. Checking fuel costs, motorists should fill up the tank now before the cheap fuel is gone. The average price for unleaded fuel in Brisbane is 96.8 and more than 10 cents cheaper on the Gold Coast. It's the busiest Brisbane CBD has been in weeks. Today, thousands of workers returned to their offices, creating confidence for business and life after coronavirus.
Streaming into the CBD.
There's a heap more people in the city today.
After weeks away, employees eager to get back to work.
I don't like being home.
Jadine Maguire returning after being stood down from her job at a call centre.
I'm excited. Yeah, very happy to be back.
Colleague Hannah came back last week.
It's good to be back in the swing of things and have like Monday to Friday again.
For the owner of Ricochet Espresso, it's reason to smile.
It feels nice, you know.
Trade is up for the first time since restrictions.
50% busier this morning.
The lunch rush on Queen Street reminiscent of a time before COVID, but still a long way off normal.
We're 70-80% down for the last 5 weeks.
There are fewer people at work, but city streets are packed with cars. Commuters taking advantage of council's free parking for a while longer yet.
So we'll have to reassess as the restrictions are relaxed.
The flood of cars creating headaches for delivery drivers like John Kim.
Can't get a car park in a loading zone.
Things returning to normal.
It's really good for the office culture to have most people returning back to work.
A saving grace for our sanity. Georgie Chumley, 7 News.
We started using drum lines and nets to protect us from sharks nearly a century ago. Now, a documentary filmed partly off the Gold Coast is testing their effectiveness, suggesting they do more harm than good.
They're designed to keep sharks away, but are they attracting them?
You can see that it's bringing sharks closer to the area, potentially putting people's lives at risk.
Envoy Carl dives into the method, which has been in Australian waters since the 1930s, in Queensland since 1962. There are 27 nets along our coastline, 365 drum lines.
A lot of people don't realise that shark nets don't even hit the bottom of the ocean.
The documentary has pictures from around the world, including the Gold Coast.
It's a politically risky move to make a change.
It questions if nets and drum lines are outdated.
Would you feel safe with road safety from the 1950s? Or would you feel safer knowing that you're utilising the technology of today?
The state government injects $1 million into research every year and says there is no scientific evidence that shark control equipment attracts sharks. This film explores alternatives, including shark shields, fully enclosed barriers, artificial kelp,
which also emits an electric field that sharks don't like.
The documentary will be released in June. They hope the government will watch. Jessica Mummy, 7 News.
This might just be the cutest home invader you'll see today. Novak, or any time really. Novak, the nosy echidna, was busted breaking into a Sunshine Coast home yesterday. He managed to make his way inside before deciding the mission wasn't really worth the effort, so he headed back outdoors. And we're assured it won't lead to a spike in break-ins. Sorry.
Coming up, meet the brave Queenslander marking a very special milestone. And the big supermarkets dropping the price of meat to help struggling families. Sport now with someone who'll love the news. Meat prices are dropping, maybe.
You can lock that in, Sharyn. Thanks. Hello, everyone. Coming up, we recap a crazy NRL week in good, bad and ugly. The Storm arrive in the new home of Albury, but are set to be booted out by an angry council. And a rooftop rally at the Royal, how a pair of tennis aces surprised hospital staff.
Truck.
It's not the end of the world.
What the truck?
It's the brand new season of Outback Truckers.
And it's our wildest adventures yet.
Tonight, 8:30.
You truckheads are gonna love it.
And that's not all.
They're bringing along their brand new mates. Meet the Aussie Desert Collectors.
You won't believe the treasures that we unearth in the middle of the desert. Magic.
It's good
fun for the whole trucking family.
Tonight from 8:30 on Mates.
Look after your health online at health365.com.au with over 700 of your favourite Australian-owned health, vitamin and skincare products online, home delivered fast. Buy smart, buy Australian. Online at health365.com.au.
Good morning.
More treatment.
We're going to try something different today.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Dogs bring out the good in us. Pedigree brings out the good in them.
Every day, we work to make our networks stronger and more reliable. So even when we can't be close, we can still be connected together.
Guys, we've got another jackpot winner.
Ozphoto, will your numbers bring you a truckload of cash this Tuesday?
Play now in-store at thelot.com or on the Lot app.
It's tax time. Stimulate your business now. Check your business's eligibility for the government instant asset write-off. Purchases made before June 30. The Ram 1500 pickup truck eats utes for breakfast.
You know, I had the weirdest cravings when I was pregnant with you. Pickles and ice cream.
That's gross, Mum.
Only fools rush in. But I can't help falling in love with you. Oh, shall I stay? Would it be a sin? Oh, if I can't help falling in love with you.
The Melbourne Storm could be kicked out of their new town tonight. The Council of Albury, their training base on the New South Wales border, are holding an extraordinary general meeting right now in which they're expected to ban the club from using their facilities.
Rugby League's refugees on the run from Victoria and now unwelcome on the New South Wales border.
I think the second round of pandemics is historically a lot worse than the first round, and we shouldn't be relaxing restrictions at this time.
Councillors in the small town of Albury believe the NRL club's acting elitist.
Some people have lost their jobs and lost their businesses. I think it's a really unacceptable double standard to say that the rules apply to some and not to others.
Making special exemptions for groups because they're elite footballers or because they're a wealthy club or whatever is not the way to go. It sends the wrong message.
An extraordinary council meeting tonight will decide the team's fate. Already, CEO Dave Donaghy is drafting a plan to hit the road for Sydney tomorrow.
There are plenty of other people out of a job and no one's making special concessions for bricklayers and builders.
Titans high-price recruit Bryce Cartwright's received a concession after refusing a compulsory flu shot to play in the NRL. 7 News understands he signed a waiver tonight, which will allow him to train and play. South Sydney's resolved their problems too. Latrell Mitchell, Adam Reynolds and Liam Knight cleared of coronavirus after being tested yesterday. And Broncos CEO Paul White has left the door ajar to run the NRL. He didn't rule out replacing Todd Greenberg.
It's not a role I've ever coveted. If someone thinks you're good enough to do it, someone reaches out to you. It's certainly, I don't think it's a job that demands a CV goes into someone's in tray.
Chris Gary, 7 News.
Well, Gilly, I admit it, I was sceptical we'd be playing this month, but how good is it to see NRL players back at their clubs?
Did you just admit you got it wrong?
Did not put words in my mouth. But I am a Peter V'landys fan. He is the reason the league is back, winning backroom battles, paving the way for every other sport to follow.
Why can't he be our CEO as well?
Oh, is this you trying to get another consultancy gig, Gilly? The NRL doesn't need a defensive coach.
No one does. There's no tackling allowed at training. That's bad news.
Well, some players might actually be cheering that, but I bet the Panthers aren't cheering Nathan Cleary's behaviour, busted lying about breaking social distancing rules.
He needs to realise how lucky he is. Look at what the Warriors are sacrificing just to play Webby.
Yeah, too true. There's no doubt that they can handle 2 weeks of isolation, but it will get ugly if they have to do it all season. They can't even have roommates.
The way you treated yours, that mightn't be a bad thing. Look at this.
He smashed my teeth in at training. I had the dentist standing on the table with his full weight, pulling my front teeth back from pointing towards my throat. We roomed for 5 years too, and always had to watch Landline at 1 o'clock game day.
We call that a stitch-up. Anyway, as you've seen, world number one Ash Barty's provided an amazing surprise for hospital staff treating COVID patients at the RBWH. Pat Rafter might have his own arena, but jumped at the chance to help convert the helipad into one of the planet's most unique and dangerous tennis courts.
The ladies went really well, actually. We were a bit worried about one part of the hitting area. If you hit too many balls over there, you're going to go down to the public area.
Then it was the medical aces' turn to provide an eye-opener.
It was really incredible to come into one of the COVID wards and just to see how it all works and how it's sectioned off. And there are a lot of people, a lot of unsung heroes that go unnoticed at the moment.
Ash's mum and sister work in the medical field. Plans to restart the supercar season will be revealed as early as next week. Sydney Motorsport Park at Eastern Creek's first permanent light tower was installed this morning in preparation for the night race currently scheduled for the end of August.
You can expect to see us on the track pretty soon. It won't be too much longer, and I think the precedent that's been set with other sports is really encouraging.
The sport's already ruled out housing drivers in an isolation hub in a single state, so easing of border restrictions will be crucial. And getting creative in lockdown may have a new clubhouse leader. Detroit Lions running back Ty Johnson is pulling a car as part of his workout routine. And as if that's not tough enough already, Johnson also does it while carrying some weights. Sharyn, it's one way to keep fit. It's not one that I'm going to choose, however.
No, he's raised the bar there, hasn't he?
Oh, well, of course.
That's an unusual way to train. All right, at least his teeth are okay, though.
Oh,
unlike some of your training mates.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I had a bad reputation. Anyway.
Thank you, Webby. We have a heartwarming update tonight on a brave Darling Downs girl who fell off her horse 10 months ago. Abby Sweeper suffered catastrophic injuries, but her spirit and fight are strong. She's now left hospital.
A moment 296 days in the making. Abby Sweeper heading out the doors of Queensland Children's Hospital at last.
I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to have fun and just play games.
The Laidley girl is a quadriplegic after falling from her horse during an equestrian competition last year. She had to relearn how to eat and talk, but in hospital found her voice through music therapy, turned 11 and learnt to drive her electric wheelchair, getting to this point of her long journey through determination and an inherited dry sense of humour.
Abby's a bit disappointed that she didn't make 300 days. We're looking about 6 months ahead of time to actually moving back to our home.
Today may have been farewell, but it's not goodbye. Abby will have to return to the hospital occasionally, though most of her appointments and rehab will be done from their temporary home. A brave young girl who keeps moving forward. Rosanna Kingson, 7 News.
Great story. Well done, Abby.
Extraordinary what she's achieved in such a short time. Well done, yeah.
Many Queenslanders have found their inner chef during lockdown. Next, the major supermarkets move to cut the price of popular meats. Now you can grab a bargain.
And at the moment it's 19 degrees on the Sunshine Coast. A couple of showers over the next day. I'll have the forecast coming up next.
What you need to know right now to be ready for tomorrow.
The breaking news now.
Your definitive source. Turn to 7 News.
1, 2, 3, 4. So clap it back. Hey, clap, clap. So clap it back. Hey, I'm getting you right back. 'Cause you're not gonna stand around living like that. So clap it back. Clap it, clap, clap. Alright.
Centrum provides multiple health benefits in just one tablet. Centrum, complete from A to Zinc.
Hester is a super fund that supports people whose work helps others. Their stories inspire us to give them a stronger financial future and a better world to retire into. It's our way of saying thank you.
How's that for serenity?
Can care be better at home?
Oh, it's a sanctuary. Your home's a bit of a sanctuary. Yeah, for me, rehab at home, it gave me a huge amount of flexibility to be able to do the things I wanted to do. It allowed me to unstress and be in the moment in your house in your own comfort zone, which was really good for me and my state of mind.
Search Medibank at Home to see how we're creating better choices for our members.
It's LTV for me.
It's LTV for me.
More and more people are saying it's LTV for me because the LTV T60 4x4 diesel is from just $27,490 drive away. And eligible businesses may be able to claim the government instant asset write-off. Hurry, offer ends May 31.
With Light and Easy, you can enjoy delicious, healthy meals with the safety of their contactless delivery service. In fact, Light and Easy has recently been rated Australia's #1 healthy meal delivery service for customer satisfaction. Order today.
Dad!
Oh, sorry.
Just wait.
It's funny.
Dad!
Party purpose. Shh.
Bring your family together. Introducing Optus Family Plan with 4 SIMs and 250 gigs of data to share.
Is your home bursting at the seams? Call Storage King. Whether you just need to create more space, kids homeschooling, working from home, or your family and business need to declutter, Storage King has the answer. With stores everywhere, there's a location just around the corner. Making Storage King the kings of storage, moving and more. Temporary or permanent solutions with no lock-in contracts and contactless move-in. Call now and let Storage King give you back some space.
Little things add up in retirement. Are you confident you can pay for them? Using part of your super or savings, invest in a Challenger lifetime annuity and you'll enjoy guaranteed income for life. Find out more at challenger.com.au.
It's one of life's biggest decisions.
This decision to buy this house was a bit of a snap decision on my part.
Can they transform this dump
Tamara and me totally deserve the house of their dreams.
into their forever home?
Oh my God, stop it.
House Rules, tonight 7:30 on 7.
He's about to arrive. Some will love it, some won't.
I ain't going anywhere.
Home and Away, weeknights on 7.
Today's main stories now, and the next time you holiday will most likely be in Queensland, with borders to remain closed. And New South Wales health official has wiped away tears while giving evidence about her team's handling of the Ruby Princess disaster. Meat prices are coming down, with major supermarket chains slashing prices to help families come out of the COVID-19 crisis. Coles is promising the drop in prices is for the long term.
Winter is coming. Hearty meals are about to become the flavour of the month.
For that whole pot, I'd say a really good serving of 4 people. All in all, it costs just under $20.
Panic meat buying led to fears of a shortage and price rises. But
we are lowering the cost of winter dishes. We know this is a really tough time for a lot of families and they're looking for value more than ever.
Here is a comparison. Today at Coles, you will pay $16 a kilogram for chuck steak. Tomorrow, it drops to $14. From Friday, Coles Deli RSPCA chicken wings will drop from $6 a kilogram to $5.50, and drumsticks down from $4.50 a kg to $4. The battle is on. Coles says that these low prices are here to stay for months. Woolworths is also dropping prices.
We've selectively chosen products that are seasonal at this time of year to try and invest to let customers get some value in their basket.
It's also an ideal time to raise your stakes, with wholesalers seeing a drop in price for high-end cuts.
Our fillet is usually about $50 to $60 a kilo. At the moment we can sell it between $30 and $40, so it's a saving of about 30%.
All helping families as they struggle to make ends meet coming out of COVID-19. Steve Titmus, 7 News.
Weather now, and a few places could get a shower over the next day, Tony.
Yeah, Sharyn, those showers and storms have been building offshore today, but they've stayed off the coast, leaving us plenty of sunshine. Now, winds should turn around overnight and bring a couple of drops here and there. At the moment, as I mentioned, it is very quiet over land. You can see a few of those showers off to the right-hand side of your screen here. A few of those showers building towards the southern border ranges and southern Gold Coast. On to today's temperatures. Inland spots still cold overnight. Single figures for Canonga, Beaudesert, Greenbank and Ipswich, also Gatton. Then today, well, tops just above average thanks to those few sunny breaks. Archerfield reached 26 degrees. Onto the satellite, a high pressure system over New South Wales is driving our weather. Southerly winds pushing those showers pretty much along the coast, not over it. There's also an upper trough adding some instability, providing, that instability for storms. Quiet through central parts of Australia, but a nasty looking low pressure system is closing in on southern WA. It'll sweep through overnight, bringing destructive winds, cold season tornadoes, high tides and huge surf. For us, a bit quieter. That high centre will push off the coast, winds turn southeast and start to push a few of those showers onshore, but the upper trough actually clears away, so the showers will be easing back as that happens. It is a bit of a balancing act between those two forces. Around the nation, Perth, as I mentioned, pretty wild. Hail, windy, showers easing during the day. Sydney, a sunny 23 degrees. Back home to Queensland in the tropics, a couple of showers on the way for Cairns and Mackay. They should last a couple of days yet. A sunny 30 in Mount Isa. Heading south, showers are possible from the stretch from Gympie through to Bundaberg. A dry 27s for Gladstone and Rockhampton. Across the southeast, just a few passing showers. They'll be most likely during the morning and near the coast. Warmer tonight than similar maximums to today. Ipswich, 11 to 26 degrees. Across the suburbs, bayside areas most likely to see any of those drops of rain, 1 or 2 millimetres here or there. So in Brisbane, a clearing shower or two up until about early afternoon, 15 to 25 degrees. Then looking further ahead, we dry out again. Thursday and Friday, tops of 25 and 26. In Ipswich, warming up, eventually 29 degrees by Sunday. Gold Coasters, you'll also warm up. Sunday, a cooler change after a top of 27 degrees. And on the Sunshine Coast, a similar pattern with the odd shower possible from Saturday into early next week. But tomorrow, the best chance of rain over the next week.
We could do with a bit. All right, thank you, Tony. And that is all from us this Tuesday. Thanks for your company.
From all the team, have a good night.
Good night.
Told you, Zig, doesn't make any difference to me, okay? I couldn't love you any less.
Goof, you are my dad.
You might regret it, but I don't. You were the one, Maggie, but I lost you to Ben.
You never had me.
Get out and don't ever come back. Is that any way to talk to your brother? I don't have a brother.
If I'd told you the truth all those years ago, do you think